is to promote excellence in journalism education, to provide opportunities for our members to share their research, to share their practice in teaching journalism education, and to look for opportunities to undertake additional research and to participate in the networking opportunities that the association provides.
As a new academic, the AJE have given me a space where I can present my first conference paper. When you join academia, it's quite daunting. You wonder how you're going to get these papers accepted, where you're going to present them, who's going to be in the audience, and I found AJE to be a fantastically supportive and friendly environment to do my first conference paper.
Is really useful because it allows a frequent platform for all researchers, but particularly early career researchers, to be published. The reason we launched it in about 2012 was that the existing journals, whilst they were very useful, had about a 2-year period between a journal article being conceived and it being published. We wanted to produce a journal which allowed people to publish their work much more quickly and also to disseminate it to a wider audience, which is why we decided it would have open online access.
At a time when our universities are under tremendous financial pressure, it can be difficult as an academic to access small pots of money to support research into your teaching practice. So having the AGE and the grants that they offer to support our research into creative and innovative teaching experimentation is absolutely wonderful.
There are a number of benefits to being a member of the AG. First and foremost is really to be part of that network, a network that is supportive, that is encouraging, and that I think I could say quite safely is full of people who are passionate about the teaching of journalism in universities today. But it does more than that. As part of our bursary scheme, we offer researchers, and we are particularly keen to offer early career researchers some funding towards undertaking their own research projects around journalism education, in which we know will provide all of our members with opportunities to learn. The annual conference and our annual winter conference also provide opportunities to share research and good practice. We are also part of a wider network. We are involved in the World Journalism Education Congress, and that also allows us to promote the work of journalism educators here in the UK. I think that we would probably all agree that journalism and journalism education faces quite a challenging and changing future. The news media is a world that changes constantly, and that's quite cliched, but it does mean that we do need to very much keep up to date, but that we also need to interface in a far more meaningful way with the industry. So our objectives for the future of the AGE would be to continue to work with industry to enable us to understand more fully how we can prepare our students for jobs in a dramatically changing work environment. Our ambitions are to grow our membership, and to do so by illustrating to members that we offer lots of opportunity for them to participate in the research and the networking opportunities that the association provides.
I'm Jenny Mackay, and I was one of the founding members of the Association for Journalism Education, which I think was about 25 years ago. There were only 2 universities that had degree level journalism, and most people did a professional training as an apprentice. And when we were teaching, when we started teaching, we were mostly very few people in the universities, so we decided to meet on a regular basis and exchange ideas about how to teach journalism. So initially it was very much about what to do in the classroom with your journalism students. And gradually it's developed as the field of journalism. I think there are 300 courses in universities now which include journalism, and research has become a very important part of that. It's far exceeded my expectations. At the time we started it, it was just a sort of self-help group for journalism lecturers, and now it's become an important focus for debate about a lot of the very challenging issues that face both journalists and journalism educators. And the fact that we have 2 conferences a year that attract people from all over the country helps us to exchange ideas about journalism practice, about the teaching of journalism. It helps to fund research in journalism, and it also contributes to an international debate about journalism education through our representation on the relevant international organisation. And it's also a great chance for people in different universities to come together and meet and exchange ideas, both on a formal basis and an informal one.
We were set up about 25 years ago. A small group of us came together to try and set up an association that could help people moving from journalism into journalism education. Most journalism educators, not all, but most, have been professional journalists. They move into education, and it's a whole brand new career. You've been working as a journalist maybe 20 years, say, and then you're expected to become an educator, learn all about higher education, all about teaching, all about research. And we decided this was a good way to give people a chance to get to know each other, a chance to exchange ideas, to network, and also a chance to develop their teaching, developing their research, and so on. And it's proved to be very popular. Most journalism schools around the country are members, and so their staff are able to come to a conference like this, present papers. For some of them, this would be the first time they've presented an academic paper, and get to know others and talk about the issues of the day, as you've seen throughout the last 2 days. Well, that ability to network, to talk to people, as I say, you're often coming in feeling very strange. You talk to other academics in the institution, but they don't necessarily have the same background that you do, coming from journalism. And there is often a risk that if you don't start to talk to other journalism academics, that you start to set up a them and us, or they're academics, but I'm a journalist. And what we want them to become is academics in journalism. So they're still journalists, still think of themselves as journalists, but they're academics as well. Because the skills of the journalist and the academic aren't hugely different. We're usually talking more about timescales. Journalists have to get something done for today, for tomorrow. An academic gets something done for months' time. And so they have much more time to analyse and look at things than the journalist does. But it's the same basic skills: researching, finding out things, talking to people, and then writing that up as a product. Well, there's a real pressure on all academics these days to publish. Journalism education is, as it suggests, a journal for those writing about education in journalism. And that's often an easier place for someone who's not been in journalism education or in academe very long to write about. They can write about the kind of ways that they're teaching journalism, the new things that they might be thinking of, rather than sort of researching a major area of journalism for a journal like Journalism Studies or Journalism Practice. So, whilst the papers that go in are world class and really good papers that will interest particularly AJE members, but also other journalism educators, and let's face it, that's the kind of people who are reading journals, academic journals. It's also a much easier place for our members to start, to put in their first paper. And we probably treat them a little more gently when they send it in. If it's not quite up to scratch, we'll give them far more advice than most journals will, so that it's a way for them to publish fairly early on in their careers, get into the habit of publishing, and then they may well expand out to other journals after that. But they've usually got something to say about journalism education much earlier in their careers than they have about some other part of journalism, even though they may have come from another part of journalism.
I've been in the AJE, it must be about 12 years or more, and it was a real revelation when I discovered it, because at the time I was in the university that wasn't particularly research active, which has changed since, but I felt that I was sort of alone in doing research and I didn't know many other researchers. So coming to the AJE was really useful. First because I met other researchers, and through that I was able to partner with some of them or just be inspired by the sort of research they were doing. And secondly, over the years I was given a bursary to do some research on female politicians, which ended up as a received paper that went in feminist media studies, and also I had to go down to an all-party parliamentary group to give evidence about women politicians in it. So that research would not have been done without the small bursary from the AJE. So I was really grateful for that. Secondly, I have just met so many lovely, friendly, supportive, interesting people, and people who are further on in their careers are able to support you, and you don't feel like you're working in a silo. And secondly, as I've got more experience, I feel I've been able to give something back and support early career researchers or people starting out in teaching. There's also been just really great presentations and things on actual education and great teaching, which has also been inspirational for me, stuff that I can take back to my teaching or to my curriculum. And, just really it's about spreading best practice, both in research and in education and teaching.
I think certainly when I was just starting out teaching and didn't have any contacts really in the field beyond my own institution, I think it was a really good opportunity to just make contacts with other people who were sharing the same kind of experiences, the same kind of concerns, the same kinds of issues, to just share resources, share experiences, and it was a very friendly environment to do that. A lot of new entrants into academia make me feel quite intimidated by conferences because they're very different from our normal journalistic experience. But I think the AJE is just a very friendly place to meet up with other people in your own field. And I also feel that I always leave these conferences feeling invigorated and refreshed, because I come away with lots of ideas from not just from the talks that people give, which are always really interesting, in the discussions, but also just the chats that we have over coffee and over lunch. I come away with lots of new ideas, new ways of approaching teaching, that I then can't wait to put into practice back at my own institution in Manchester, or share with colleagues, discuss with colleagues back there. So I always come away feeling a little bit reinvigorated.